Hey, Rob, it's Doug Plank, former safety for the Chicago Bears. I know everybody calls you Rogie. I just wanted to be proper here. It was great playing for the Chicago Bears. I can't tell you how much I enjoyed it. After having been not a walk-on, but a backup at Ohio State, only getting in on special teams. And I had a great game against Northwestern in Chicago. And a Chicago Bear scout came to the game. That's how I made it onto the Chicago Bears. But it was great. The 8 years were amazing. I got there with a really fantastic attitude, aggressive, tough. I wanted to hit every player I could, knock the ball loose, tackle them. Linemen, runners, it didn't matter. Quarterbacks, I could do it to anybody. But with it came injuries, but I really appreciate this opportunity to just reach out with to Rob and just tell him tell you what a great job you've done. And these were sponsored by the West Point H2 classmates. And so they're the group that really were asking me to reach out to you. And, but I want to thank you for your service. This is not a popular place to be, in the service. I mean, not that you're there now, but you have been there and you did a great job with what you're doing. And I'll just say this, I know looking through some of the information about you before, this came about, I realize you are one tough, hard-headed son of a bitch and a great American. And, those are descriptions that I would like to have in anything that I did, whether it was playing football, going to school, being a father. I found out in life that, sports and military really have a lot in common, because there were times out there when I was on playing football, and it's a very physical sport back in those days, 70s and 80s. And I felt like I'm glad I didn't have a weapon in my hand at that moment, because the emotions were so high. I couldn't say what I was going to do with it. There was so much animosity built up between certain teams. There were players out there just purposely trying to hurt other people. And I was accused of that also. But, sometimes it's hard to describe effort with intent. And I had great effort. I always wanted to play as hard as I could, take it to the limit. And, so it was great. So I think sports and military have a lot in common. You're on a team, you're trying to beat the opposition, you're trying to do anything you can. And I know your uncle was with the Bears, so, you certainly had a connection with Chicago. And but just looking through, some of the bullet points on your tours of duty, amazing. You were an incredible individual. I mean, some of the places looked pretty exciting, like I'd like to go there, but there's no doubt they were scary. There was a reason for you to go there. And but it's amazing. There weren't too many places on the world that you didn't, run across. I've always been a big believer in our military and all the respect in the world. I have one son and one daughter, and my son went through college at Arizona State, and 30 days after he graduated from Arizona State, he joined the Army, and he wanted to be a Green Beret or a Ranger, and ended up going through a bunch of jumping exercises down in Fort Benning, and actually jumped out of an airplane one time and landed in a tree and damaged a ligament, so that knocked him out of the restraints or the restrictions on becoming a Green Beret or a Ranger. And so he went into EOD, explosive ordnance, and after a couple months, he liked it, and he ultimately met his wife there. Great. He's the only person I've ever known in my life that ever met his wife at the EOD in Fort Benning, Georgia. I could just hear those conversations at night over dinner. Man, what do you do with the black and red wire? Do you touch them, or they go someplace else? Bottom line is, they're doing great. They've got 2 kids, and but I just heard, from the information that I was given, that you recently had surgery. And what I like about, what I know about you right now, which is limited, you're a survivor. you got great leadership qualities. And your attitude, it controls everything that happens to you. And I was proud of trying to have that same attitude myself. I wasn't big. I was strong. I could lift weights. And I had great determination. I learned from things that didn't go right. I learned from my mistakes. And I learned quickly. And I came in as a third-round safety my rookie year. And by the time the season started, I was starting. And I led the team in tackles, which had never been done by any rookie, even linebackers. It's hard to lead the team in tackles after you got to run through 10 guys to get to the running back. So something was wrong. And we just didn't have a very good team that year. But, I think, just looking through your bio, oh man, you've done some great things. You have a lot of things to be proud of. And, you just have to, I think part of that is you have to convince others. I was in coaching for a while, for about 8 years with the Jets and the Falcons and Ohio State. And I started out in arena football here in Arizona with Danny White, the former Dallas Cowboy quarterback. It's hard to convince people to follow you or follow whatever the theme is that you're trying to sell. And I know that you've done an unbelievable job. It's just reading about how the soldiers loved you for it. And, soldiers and players don't perform without leaders. Somebody on a team, in an organization, they have to be a leader. Someone has to take control and say, follow me, and before anything happens. And, there was a phrase that I heard one time years ago, and it just said, this was regarding athletes, players don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And there was two guys in particular on the Chicago Bears team that I think that really applies to. And it was Dan Hampton and Gary Fensick. And they remind me of you a lot just by knowing their personality. And then I don't know you personally, but I just read through what you've done and what you've been able to accomplish. And it sounds like like Dan Hampton or Gary Fensick, because they were always thinking ahead. They were always thinking of the next move, whether it was getting a quarterback, getting an interception, whatever the case might have been. And they were great leaders too. I mean, they always kept their cool, even under fire, even when we were behind and all those sort of things. They were great leaders. And, but nothing destroys confidence in a team like brute force. What do I mean by that? You're going up against an opponent and you undervalued them when you were looking at them on film, much like, an opposition to an enemy. And, you go in there and you say, these are not the same guys that we thought we were going to play this week. Or maybe it was guys that you were going to meet, in a battle or a firefight or whatever the case might be. And what happens is, I found that if you're not prepared, those that fail to prepare to fail. And, it's nothing like brute force turning men into chickens. And, I've been on some teams where we were just overpowered by the opposition and it just didn't go our way. And there was players on our team that just were giving up. Maybe we were behind by a few points. I thought that was the best time to do it, because every time we got more and more behind on an opponent, I became more and more aggressive in what I did. And because, if I gave up 3 points or a touchdown, it didn't really matter. We were already behind 21 points or 28 points. But then you got to take chances. You're trying to make a turnover or make a tackle or a big play, which could turn the game around. And so a game plan, I know everybody puts game plans together. I laugh because I forget who exactly told me this one time. He said game plans are only good till you meet the enemy, which I found that to be true in many cases. Sometimes the game plan, wow, it was right on target. Other times the game plan didn't have any correlation with the team we were getting ready to play. So there was just some things that I really felt like, applied to a lot of things in life, not just sports. But Rogie, I'm saying a prayer. I also found out that you had surgery recently. And, all I'm saying is you're a tough guy. It's more than just physical. I've had 9 or 10 surgeries in my life. I've replaced my 2 shoulders. I've had 2 knees. I've had multiple operations where I've had broken ribs and other things that required, I have spinal stenosis from continually running into people with my head down. And you do that, for like after college, I did on kickoffs every week. And, when you're running that fast into big bodies, things are going to happen. And usually it's going to eventually everything accumulates. And I got to the point where I started losing feeling in my legs because of spinal stenosis. And that's really what caused the end of my football career. I just didn't have enough body parts to go another couple of years, but loved playing for the Chicago Bears. And again, I'm saying a prayer for you. I've heard nothing but great things from everybody that's known you. And you're certainly a person I would love to get a chance to meet. So I'll be saying a prayer for your, not just recovery, but total recovery. And last but not least, go Bears, and God bless you. Take care.